What the Falcons do? Rise up. Welcome to Rise Up Reactions. Sure, we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports, and in general the sports news of the day. I'm your host, Dr. Lee Denning, fantasy enthusiast. So, again, just kind of keeping with the idea of fantasy football and just the fact that we're coming up on a big fantasy draft season here, just want to take another moment to talk about the next kind of rankings for offensive players, or at least some of the ones that I think are more notable, and that would be the quarterback position. So we've already covered tight end, and kind of went through a tiered system there. I'm going to continue to do the tiered system over the next few videos. But just to kind of break it down a little bit, for the quarterbacks, I have about 5 tiers. If you get outside of that, you're really hurting because this almost includes literally every quarterback, since only 32 of them are going to start this season. I did not include all 32, but we're going to talk about their average draft position right now, where you can get some of these guys if you might be reaching a little bit for it, or if you think they're actually worth it. So, out the gate, there's 4 guys in the elite tier. So this is tier 1. I would say this is probably the order that I would take them in, but again, it just kind of depends here. So, Josh Allen, number 1 overall, out of Buffalo. Justin Herbert, the Chargers quarterback. Patrick Mahomes out of Kansas City, and Lamar Jackson. Now, any of these guys could end up finishing as the number 1 quarterback this season. I do think Josh Allen, who's basically been that guy the last couple of seasons, is probably going to be the MVP this year. I think he's the safest money bet for that, but we'll see. All of these guys have high ceilings and high floors, so there's really nothing that you can do that's going to go wrong with picking them, except you're potentially giving up other talented positions. So, where are these guys going? Josh Allen, he's going at round 3, pick 6 overall average. Justin Herbert is going pick 409. Patrick Mahomes, pick 406, and Lamar Jackson's going at 505. So anywhere between the middle of the 3rd and the middle of the 5th is where these 4 guys are going. Obviously, there's a little bit more value potentially to having Lamar Jackson if he's still around at that point in time. It gives you a chance to get a couple more running backs or wide receivers that otherwise would not be there. And I don't know that I actually agree with taking Josh Allen in the 3rd round this year. I've not really ever seen a team win a league with a quarterback taken in the 3rd round. I have seen a team win with a quarterback taken in the 5th or 6th round before. So it just depends. I tend to have historically weighted on the quarterback position, but it depends on your format as well. In a 2 QB league, all these guys are first round picks. You shouldn't even hesitate on them. But we're just going to go typically thinking 1 quarterback leagues here. So the next tier I would call still a pretty great tier overall. You're not going to be upset with the fact that you got one of these guys, and potentially you've gotten better talent at other positions by waiting. So your next tier has 6 guys in it, starting with Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady. Now, this one I think is a little bit harder to put an order on. I would say that Joe Burrow and Kyler Murray are probably going to be the upper end of this, but Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady both finished in the top 5 last year, and again, those guys have both been in the MVP conversation the last 2 years. So Jalen Hurts is probably the weakest quarterback here from an actual in-game perspective. However, he runs for a literal metric ton of yards. He was almost the lead back last year for Philadelphia. He got 10 touchdowns on the ground. So he's getting points in other ways. So think Cam Newton almost, but maybe a little bit better arm than Cam had. You know what? No, I take that back. Jalen's not quite Cam. So, anyways, still, you're getting a high floor with all these guys, but you're not going to have as many breakout games where they're going to be just absolutely amazing like your first 4 guys are. So the rounds that these guys are going in, Burrow's going 609, Kyler Murray's going 602, Jalen Hurts 604, Stafford 810, Aaron Rodgers is going 909, and Tom Brady is going 707. So, again, that's the round that they're going and about the pick in a typical 12-person league that they're going at. So you're looking at guys who are kind of more early middle picks here. And again, I'm all about position scarcity. Quarterback is not a position scarcity field. So really you should be waiting on quarterback almost always unless the value is just too good. If you get into the 7th round and Joe Burrow's still there, you may want to take him. If you get into the 9th round and Stafford's still there, take him. Heck, if Aaron Rodgers is around at round 11, which he won't be, but if he's still there, that's an excellent spot to take him. And really where he's going at 909 overall is a great spot. I don't think you could do much better than him, and I think he's probably got the potential again to be an MVP candidate even without Devontae Adams. Moving on to tier 3, we've got another 6 guys in this tier. So this one I would say there's definitely no particular order for the first 4, and then the last 2 I do think are at the bottom end of it. So you've got Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, and then you've got Derek Carr and potentially Trey Lance. Now, Trey Lance is a wild card here. He could easily fall one tier back. I don't think he's going to really move up too much, but this is kind of what I expect to be your good tier. Dak has a lot of weapons. Russell has a lot of weapons. Kirk has a lot of weapons. Matt Ryan just elevates the team that he's on, and he's on a great offense now. Derek Carr probably is going to be a lot better this year, even having Devontae Adams, a healthy Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow. So they should be good all around. And then Trey Lance, again, he's kind of a wild card, but he's going a little bit higher in draft. So people are anticipating that he's going to have a good year. And he's definitely going to be the starter out the gate. We'll see what happens with Jimmy G before the season. But these are guys you can get kind of middle towards the double-digit round. So Dak is going 802, Russell Wilson 706, Kirk Cousins is probably the best value here at 1012, besides maybe Matt Ryan, who's going at around 1405. You could basically wait and get Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan may end up being a top 10 quarterback this year. I think he's going to elevate Michael Pittman's play tremendously, but we'll see what happens there. Derek Carr is going at 912, and Trey Lance is almost going above all these guys at 807. I don't know that I would do that. I feel like he should probably be going in about the 10th or 11th round just because there's a lot that we don't know there. As we get closer to the actual season and get to see some preseason games, we'll have a lot better idea of what we have in Trey Lance. I just don't think he's the guy yet, but I would put him in this tier if he lives up to the hype. Tier 4, this is more of your possible stars, but you're definitely reaching. They're more just what I call your meh players, guys that are really should be in a one quarterback league, probably not on anybody's roster, guys that you can plug and play off of free agency and maybe end up being great down the stretch here. But there's another 6 guys here. So I start with Tua Tagovailoa at Miami. Ton of weapons. Could emerge being a great player. I still don't know if he cracks top 12, but he should have a much better season. There's just no excuse this year. Ryan Tannehill, he's lost a lot of weapons. He's getting to be more inconsistent. I struggle with keeping him in this tier. I almost put him in a tier later, but he's still an okay quarterback. Jameis Winston is here. I think he is going to have a good year with Chris Olave, Michael Thomas. When Alvin Kamara comes back from suspension, they should be good. He's still got Marquez Callaway. They've got a great defense in New Orleans, so he should be able to be on the field and be pretty productive. Zach Wilson is here. I know he didn't have a stellar rookie campaign. They're a different team this year. He should be good all the way around. He's got a better supporting cast, better offensive line. So Zach Wilson, I think, is going to take a step up, and he could be a weekly streaming option for you. Trevor Lawrence should be higher on this list if he hadn't been coached by Urban Meyer last year, and if the Jags actually had quality talent around him. Christian Kirk, not a bad player at all, but spoiler alert, he is not in my top 3 tiers for the wide receivers. Still going to be good, but just, again, not quite an elite talent to be throwing to, so he just doesn't have a lot to work with. So I don't think Trevor's going to have the best year. And I actually put Baker Mayfield at the back end of this tier now that he's been traded to Carolina. Again, I think Baker is probably 17, 18, 19, somewhere in there if he's with the Cleveland Browns last year before he got hurt. If he had stayed on Cleveland and had Amari Cooper, I would put him in tier 3. He just isn't there anymore. The talent's not quite there. DJ Moore's around, so he's going to have a little bit better option there, but I still just don't know what we're getting with Baker. I think it's a big year for him, and there's a possibility that both of the number 1 and 2 quarterbacks taken overall in 2018 are relegated to backup positions permanently after this season, which is absolutely nuts, and they're both playing in the same locker room. So that's going to be an interesting battle itself. But where are these guys going? These are all guys you can take a late round flyer on at any point. They're all going past the 12th round. And I'm getting a lot of this from Underdog Fantasy, which is a best ball fantasy app. So you can pretty much rely on that. I would say that they've been fairly accurate from last year and the couple of years that they've been active and what I've seen in drafts. So I feel like what's happening with them is really what's mirrored in actual fantasy drafts. So the last tier that I have are your sleepers / reaches. I have a grand total of 7 guys in here. I didn't include all the quarterbacks, but basically you could just take this and say it's everybody else. So 23, Justin Fields. He's got Darnell Mooney. He's got N'Keal Harry and Cole Kmet to throw to. He's got an abysmal offensive line. He's going to have to run. He's in a bad situation. I think his talent is better than what you're seeing, but he just has – it's a terrible situation in Chicago. He needs at least 1 or 2 more years to get there. to really prove what he can do. And they really didn't help him out as much this offseason as I would have liked him to. So I don't like much of the Chicago offense. I really would stay away from them. But if you feel like you're in a dynasty league and you want to take a shot on him, I think that's worthwhile to have him ride your bench and see how he does. Daniel Jones, make or break here. Again, they have done a lot to improve that team around him. Big time year for him. If he doesn't do well this year, he's going to be riding the bench for somebody next year. So we'll see what Danny Dimes can do. I'm not sure that he's the guy there, but I thought they needed to move on from quarterback for a while. But again, he's got a lot of weapons. They just added Wan'Dale Robinson. They've got Kenny Galladay. Probably not going to have Kadarius Toney anymore. They still have Saquon Barkley there. They beefed up their offensive and defensive line there. So, again, Daniel Jones is in the best position he's probably been in since he's been in the NFL. So, if he doesn't succeed this year, and again, he's definitely a fantasy reach this year, not somebody that I would want actively starting all the time as my number one quarterback unless he started showing some life. 25, Drew Lock. Again, this is about where he's been his entire career. Seattle's going to be tanking for one of the best picks next year, either Bryce Young or C.J. Uzomah. Not Uzomah. What's his name? Stroud. Sorry, C.J. Stroud. The only thing I'll say, he has a ton of weapons around him. You got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and he got to bring Noah Fant with him to Seattle. They're not going to be bad. They also drafted Ken Walker, and then they also have Rashad Penny. Their defense is going to be abysmal, so they're going to be giving up a ton of points, meaning they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. Drew Lock is a very, very, very sneaky dark horse guy. Not a guy I think is going to succeed, but it would not genuinely surprise me if he does, just given the fact that he still has comparable weapons to when he was in Denver. And Pete Carroll, I think, is a better coach than what he had last year in Denver. So we'll see what happens there. But another guy that I think is kind of relegated to the back end, Jared Goff, he's really more of a plug-and-play guy. They've added a bunch of weapons around him. You got T.J. Hawkinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have, who's their quarterback? DeAndre Swift is running back there. They've added DJ Shark, and then they also got Jameson Williams in as another receiver, possibly the best receiver in this class. He's not going to be ready to play for the first couple of weeks because of his injury in the postseason for college this year. But, again, I don't know. Jared Goff at L.A. was a top 16 quarterback. He was definitely bottom end of the spectrum last year, but they've done a lot to try and help him. He's got a great coaching staff there. He could be a sleeper, but he's not somebody, again, 2 QB league, yeah, definitely a guy that you may want to be plugging and playing every week or so. 1 QB league, he doesn't need to be your starter except for buys or unless he just has a random breakout season. Mac Jones at 27. Bill Belichick, you never know what he's going to do. There was a game last year where they threw the ball 3 times. He completed 2 passes and they threw the ball 3 times and just ran it like 40 times down the Buffalo Bills' throat. I have no clue what Bill Belichick is ever going to do. I don't trust him, therefore I don't trust Mac Jones, even though he was one of the better rookies last year. I don't think he's going to have a great sophomore season just because I don't think that the Patriots are going to be that good as a team. 28, I'll throw Marcus Mariota in here as a homer for the Falcons. I was not enamored in 2015 with either him or Jameis Winston. I thought the Tennessee Titans made a piss-poor decision in taking him, number 2 overall. I didn't think he was ever going to amount to anything as an NFL quarterback. So far, I've been proven right. I don't know how he's going to do in Atlanta. Somebody's got to do something for the Atlanta offense. He very likely is going to have to run the ball and use those legs that he has not done in the last 4 years. Going to have Drake London to throw to, Kyle Pitts. So there are some weapons there, and then there's a buttload of just wide receiver 3 and 4s that we have no idea who's going to emerge. My pick is for Bryan Edwards to emerge, but we'll see. So I'll put him at 28, and then Carson Wentz, I almost didn't even include him on this list, but he's got freaking Scary Terry McLaurin that he's throwing to, and Scary Terry, this is probably the most talented quarterback, regardless of what you think of Carson Wentz, probably the strongest quarterback that he's actually had a chance to work with, and if you included Taylor Heineke last year as a top 30 quarterback, you have to put Carson Wentz there. I just don't care. You have to have him there. He is truly a dark horse. He's going to be a guy you're going to use on buys. If you are starting him, something went incredibly wrong in your draft, or you have had just catastrophic injuries to quarterbacks. But again, these are all sleepers and reaches. The only one who's going with any earlier rounds is Justin Fields at 1109. Everybody else is being drafted past the 14th round. These are all guys that should not be drafted in an actual redraft league, but you never know what your home league is going to do. But again, that's kind of what I think. I think there are 3 really good tiers to pull from with 16 quarterbacks among them to actually make a team. And I think there's pretty much everybody else, but some of them have more upside than others. But again, that's just my thoughts on it. I'd love to hear your comments down below. If you have some different thoughts on some of the guys that I mentioned here, do you think I included somebody in the right tier? Do I need to expand tier 2 or 3 a little bit? Did I make tier 1 too expansive? Would love to hear about that in the comments down below. If you like the video, please hit the like button. Consider subscribing. It'll really help us out. Until next time, rise up.